Greetings, welcome back to PinkOddBird. Today we are here to get our signatures sewn into the old junk journal. So I am going to go through this process with all of you. I'm going to set my signatures off to the side, and the first things that I'm going to go over are some of the supplies. I am going to use some of this twine, which I have an abundance of and I don't use it a lot. So since I have baker's twine, I am going to wax it with my little beeswax so it's a little bit more pliable and durable. And then of course I have my pen, my awl, my clasp, and my ruler. So the first thing I want to do is take a piece of scrap paper that's exactly the same height as my cover or my pages. If your cover is a little bit bigger than your pages are, then measure it by the height of your pages, of your signatures. And I just cut it down to 6 inches. It's a nice whole number for me, and I feel like that gave me a good allotment of space to be able to make a grid for my 10 signatures. So the next thing you want to do, of course, is pick which side of your cover you want to be the front. And then once you have that done, I am going to start doing some sort of measurements to try and find the center of my book cover here. You can use whatever method works best for you, but what I just did was I measured the length of the book cover and then divided it by 2, and then that's where I am making my mark. And then I'm going to make a mark in the center of my template as well, right in the middle. I think I said it was 6 inches, but it's just shy of 6 inches. So I'm marking that off in the middle, and then just going to get that center line drawn down the center of the template here. Now that I have all of the center pieces marked, I'm going to take my signature so that I can try and figure out how much space I need for my spine. So this is basically going to be my allotment for how far I need to have my signature separated apart. And I'm just going to eyeball this again. You guys, I am not doing any of this perfectly, but as you can see, I'm just lining up the center lines. I placed down all my signatures, and then I just roughly marking out how much space I need to put my signatures down, and it came out to be about 3 inches, which I kind of guessed that anyway. So I'm just gonna mark off where I had those little notches that I put around the edges of my signature. So I've got 2 lines now and a center line, so I'm just going to roughly tick off little areas to make sure that I have enough space in this little block of my paper for my 10 signatures, and I do. So I'm going to go ahead and just start making lines by every 1/4 of an inch and until I have 10 lines. So to me, that was the easiest way to do this, but if you have your own way or an easier way, by all means, you can use your method, but this is just my little on the fly moment. Next, we want to go ahead and get those horizontal lines in. So to kick it off, I just fold the template in half. So that gives us our middle line right smack dab in the middle. And since we already marked off our center, where the center is, we marked that off. For some reason, mine did actually line up with the center of the page. I don't always get so lucky. So I'm just going to start drawing in the lines. These are the horizontal lines for where the points meet is where you're going to sew your signatures in. So I'm going to draw my 5 lines, and I'm doing the 5-hole pamphlet stitch on my book. I do have a slower, more in-depth tutorial for this, so I will link it if you guys are interested in seeing the way that I do the 5-hole pamphlet stitch, but I'm just going to speed it up in this one for the sake of time, and I'm sure most, if not all of you guys already know how to do this. So since our page was folded in half, I'm going to line up that center fold with the center line that I drew on the book cover, and then take my awl and get all of the holes punched directly through my cover. So easy peasy, right? So next I'm going to take my string, about 2.5 times the height of my book cover or my signatures, depending on which one you're measuring by. And then I'm just going to run it through this little wax tool here. This gives it a little bit more durability. I usually use pre-waxed thread, but since this book is for me, I'm going to save the good stuff for you guys and just, you know, make myself a rickety old book. Okay, so I'm grabbing my first signature, which in this case is actually the last signature, using the same template that we used to punch the holes in the book cover to measure out my holes for my signature. And again, if you are using your awl or any other sharp tool to punch holes into your pages and cover, please be careful. Use your best judgment. So again, I'm doing just the regular 5-hole pamphlet stitch, starting through the center hole, going up into the hole just above that, and then pulling it through, and then running it back out through the very top hole. And then once it goes out through the top hole, we're going to put it back in through the hole that's just below it. So right back into that same hole that we just came out of. So, and it's a little bit more tricky because we do have a very textured cover. So finding the holes is a little tricky sometimes. So that's something to just keep in mind. And then we're going to run it down to the second to last hole. Okay. Pull it through. And then at this point is where I usually like to make sure that all my strings are pretty tight in both directions. And we're going to run it back up through the very bottom hole, back through the hole above that. And then finally it will go through the center hole that we originally started in. So again, this is just very high level, not meant to be a learning process. Just, you know, watch me do this. You can do this. We can do this. And then I like to double knot it once I get to the final step here. It's always so satisfying when we get to the part where it's finally done. Although I do have to do this 9 more times, so that's going to be fun. And the good news is, by the magic of TV, you don't have to sit here and watch the whole thing. However, I did want to show you a couple of things here. You always want to make sure that you count your holes, because sometimes you might actually run your signature through the wrong hole, because especially with this many signatures, the holes are really close. So you might accidentally sew your signature through the hole next door, and that is not fun, because then you have to take all the string out and do it all over again. So just be careful with that. I've done it before. It's not very fun. And then the other tip that I wanted to give you before I hop off and finish this off camera is, if you're having trouble finding where you poked the hole in your cover, what I like to do is just take my awl again and then poke it through from the inside, and then just pay attention to where it comes out on the opposite side. And then you have like a visual cue as to where to put the needle through to keep going in to sew your signatures. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing this offline, and I will be back when I have most of these signatures in, and we can move on from there. All right, see you soon. All right, finishing up this last signature here. That wasn't so bad now, was it? All right, we've got all of these sewn in, and this is how the finished book with the signatures sewn in is going to look. I hope that this has been a helpful video for you. And like I said, I really wanted this to be something that was very simple, very easy, nothing that's too mind-numbing, just something that you can go in and create and be able to use for yourself. So I guess that really is it. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below, and I will be sure to answer you. But that's going to wrap it up for me for now. Be sure to stay tuned, because you never know what direction this odd flock of ours is heading into. And until next time, toodaloo.